for money, for burials, for school fees, for hospital bills. And so we are in some way entrenching corruption by asking these lawmakers to either pay for these bills that we have from their personal pockets, or to find a way to steal to pay for this. And so these are the issues they say they have. Some say, look, their constituencies are too far away. Some say in their minds their contracts with the electorates have ended, and so because some of them paid for votes, so we still have vote buying. So when they paid you at the polling booth to thumbprint in their favor, then they feel, look, their contract with you has also expired. And so these are the issues. And of course, there will always be the lawmakers who can be bothered. They are not there for national interest or for public interest. They are there really to just bear the name, answer, it's a career really, and to just be part of the political process in the land. So we'll look at all of these and we'll see how they all play out within the next 45 minutes, and we'll be engaging ourselves. Like I like to make this program a public hearing where we can actually hear you as listeners, as respondents, as citizens in the country. And so you can expect that at some point the phone lines will be open for conversation on this program. And so I would love very much to hear your thoughts. But let's first begin by, and also let you know that we'll be joined by a lawyer who will help us digest a lot of these issues and break it down. But for those who might not understand, what is the actual function of a lawmaker? What is the aim and objective of having a lawmaker serve in office for, at least for now, where in Nigeria we have a 4-year tenure, and the number one or the major aim is representation. All of us cannot be in the National Assembly or the state assemblies to make laws that will govern us. But we can select individuals who can go there and then speak on our behalf. They would have heard from us, and therefore they can then share their thoughts, this time informed thoughts, informed opinions, having harvested our views. And so it's similar to what you see with the public hearing that happened recently on constitutional amendment. The point is to hear from the people, take their thoughts, and then make sure that their thoughts then eventually translate into laws. And so that's the point for representation. And so it's also very important to note that it's not only the legislators that represent the people. The executive also represents the people. By electing them to office, we have delegated our powers to them, and through the ministers and commissioners and the president and governors, we have also given them the powers to represent us, to take decisions on our behalf. And so, and of course, it's elections that brings both the lawmakers and the executive to power. So I just wanted to make it clear on the fact that representation is a key factor for legislators, but representation happens much, much beyond our legislators alone. So you must be part of the process in terms of engaging all levels of governance. And then, but what is specific to our lawmakers in this case in terms of their functions? Our lawmakers, just as the name I've just said implies, they make laws. So apart from representing people, the legislators are saddled with the responsibility of making laws for peace, order, and good governance of our states and of our nation. And what's also another very vital part of their role and function is what is called the oversight function. Now, it is implied in our constitution, the 1999 constitution, that the Nigerian parliament, as the Nigerian lawmaking body, has the responsibility of approving the appropriation bills before they become laws. And by that, we are speaking to budgets. And so a government is expected to submit its budget, submit its plan of action, and then the lawmakers speak to it and then make it become law. And then when implementation of laws are taking place, it is important that the lawmakers must be on top of their game to ensure that, especially when finance has been appropriated, that it is used judiciously. And so those are some of the functions that the legislators focus on. And today we'll be bringing our guest so that he can engage in terms of this issue and he can provide a lot of perspective on it for us. So stay with us, stay with the program. It promises to be very interesting. I've laid for you the background, the foundation to what we're talking about, and so we expect that at the time when it's necessary, we'll need you to call in. And so let me just share the telephone numbers with you where you can call into the program and therefore be part of the conversation today before we join our guest, Barrister Max Oga. So we have the telephone numbers 0818 4270 287, 0818 4270 287, 0818 4270 287, as well as 0818 4270 265. I'll take it again, 0818 4270 265. And one more time, 0818 4270 265. All right, we'll go on a short break now. We'll just drink a bit of water and we'll be back. Also, you to drink water as well and get ready to share your thoughts on the program today. It's still Vision Nigeria. We'll be back shortly.
Indeed, the land is green and should bring prosperity to every Nigerian, irrespective of tribe, religion, or political affiliation. On Vision Nigeria, we take a constructive look at how to achieve this objective on the basis of democracy, rule of law, and prosperity for all. Vision Nigeria is a concept of Comrade Adenauer Foundation, a German organization committed to deepen democracy in Nigeria, create respect for the rule of law, leading to prosperity for all. Join us every Wednesday on the network service of Nigeria's premier independent radio, Repa FM, from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Join us on the mission to make Nigeria truly great. Vision Nigeria by the Comrade Adenauer Foundation. It's all about Nigeria.
The land is green, it's green, oh, oh. The land is green, it's green, can't you see? The harvest is ready.
Remaining with us is still Vision Nigeria, and we're pleased to have joined the program now a lawyer, a senior lawyer at that, who's based here in the nation's capital of Abuja. He's Barrister Max Oga. Thank you for joining the program, sir. Yes, welcome. And on the our focus on the conversation today is on the relationship between lawmakers, that's our legislators, both at the federal level as well as the state levels, and to examine the relationship between the citizens and the lawmakers. And I'll start by asking you what I feel is a blanket question in terms of the fact, so that we can establish a background and then we take it forward. So ask you, today as it is presently practiced, of course we saw a public hearing that took place in terms because of the constitutional amendment, but how would you score, if it was up to you to do that, the relationship between the citizenry and the elected lawmakers?
Well, as you know, elected lawmakers are representatives of the people. They should speak the minds of the people at every point in time, but that does not mean they should become rubber stamps of the people, because 200 million Nigerians cannot speak with one voice at any particular point in time. So those we have elected as our representatives should speak on our behalf. So whatever they say on our behalf, to a reasonable extent, is an expression of our respective positions.
All right. Barrister?
Yes.
Okay, are you done with your answer? I just want to confirm.
Yes, I am.
Okay, yes. So do you think that as it stands today, that Nigerians are enjoying in terms of quality representation from the lawmakers who they have elected at various levels, are they enjoying quality representation? Is the will of the people? Of course, you have said now that we can never really have consensus for 200 million people, but to a great extent, are we having the lawmakers take on board the issues that are important to the people and drive those to a conclusion? Take for example, so there have been a lot of call and cry for state police as just one example. Governors have spoken about it, civilians have spoken about it, I mean citizens rather have spoken about it. But how have our lawmakers looked at the laws and say, look, we want to drive this process for the people who are demanding it for good governance? What's your response?
Well, the answer to your question can only be subjective. The answer to that question cannot be objective. Whatever I say or whatever any other person says in response to this question you have asked can only be that person's opinion. Now, if I'm a member of the Labour Party, for instance, and the person who represents me is a member of the All Progressive Grand Alliance, that is APGA, it will be difficult for me a lot of times to agree with whatever that person does or says as my representative. So I say all of this to say that our reactions as to whether our lawmakers are representing us properly, be based on our individual sentiment. Our reactions are subjective. They can never be objective. So whatever I say to you is my opinion. Whatever the next person says to you will also be that person's opinion. It depends on where the particular person is standing. That's what determines whether the person is saying a figure 6 or a figure 9. It cannot be a universally acceptable or generally agreeable answer to the question you have asked.
I hear you, Barrister, but I think that we will be buried our heads in the sand if we do not say that there's an objective analysis that we as individuals can produce and can provide and say from observation to say, look, lawmakers, and because Nigeria is not the only place where we have lawmakers, and so you can see we see them all over the world. And so to say in terms of outcomes, when a Nigerian goes to the poll to vote for a lawmaker,
without intending to cut you short, you made reference to the issue of the call for state police.
Of course.
Now, for some of us, we believe that state police will be abused. We believe that the states will not be able to fund it. We believe that state governors who have abused local government administration, who are abusing the independence of the state houses of assembly, that they will abuse the state police. That's what some of us believe in. So now, lawmakers represent all of us with our diverse and divergent views. So where do you expect the lawmakers to stand for you to say they are with the people? Should they stand with those of us who are against state police? Should they stand with those who are in for state police? That's the difficulty in it. So whatever they do, the law presumes regularity since they are our representatives. Whatever they say, whatever in their opinion, it seems to be good for us, and they stand on it, the majority of them stand on it, that becomes binding on us.
All right. So our focus really is on in terms of x-raying the relationship between citizens and their lawmakers as it stands today. And so let's retool back to that focus, because I want those who are listening to us and those who will call in and probably engage with you as well to be able to stay on the money, stay on the conversation, because I know that there are a lot of issues we can delve on, but they will take us away from our subject matter. So I'll go back to the subject matter to ask you, therefore, in terms of take for example, lawmakers have said in the past that, and it's common knowledge in some way, I don't know, can also be referred to this as subjective as well, but the fact that Nigerians go to their lawmakers and say, look, for example, I just lost my father and therefore I need to bury him, I do not have all the finance necessary, I'd like some support. Now, this is not the sort of engagement that you'd expect should happen in terms of when you want to engage a lawmaker, right? Especially on the issues that he's elected to serve for. So the question will be, therefore, do Nigerians understand essentially what the functions of our lawmakers should be?
No, to a reasonable extent, we do not understand its functions. There are three basic functions or rules for our lawmakers. Number one, lawmaking. Number one, representation. Number two, lawmaking. And number three, oversighting of our public institutions. But apparently, an average voter on Nigeria or an average citizen of Nigeria does not understand this. I mean, we feel that our lawmakers are there to pay our rent, to pick up our bills, pay the fees of our children, and all of that, which is out of it. Definitely out of it. So where an elected lawmaker represents his people well, expresses opinion on their behalf and in their favor, he carries out oversight functions as is expected to do, and He attends plenary at all points in time when he's expected to be there, as opposed to traveling around the world and abandoning his or her responsibility. I mean, such a person is discharging his obligations as a lawmaker. But when we feel that the lawmaker is adjudged as being good or bad based on what he or she hands out from his or her pocket or a handbag, then we are getting it wrong. We are missing the point by a mile. Our eyes should remain on the ball. What is the ball here? Representation, lawmaking, and oversighting for our lawmakers. Anything short of this, my dear brother, will be assessing our lawmakers using the wrong parameters.
All right. Do you think that the lawmakers make it easy for citizens to engage them, and especially engage them on issues? And I'd like to approach this question from two levels. Number one, take, for example, the fact that in the National Assembly, let's start with the National Assembly, and at some point the discussion will come to the state as well. But in the National Assembly, for example, when they will vote on key issues, they use a voice vote rather than, in terms of electronic voting, or the one that can capture what direction exactly did this lawmaker A vote for. So did he say yes in favor of so and so bill, or did he say no in favor of so and so bill? Because by yea and nay, you can't really tell who said what, right? So we're just looking for what is the loudest. So do lawmakers make it easy for people, Nigerians, to engage with them on issues when there's no clear delineation, when we can't know where they actually stand on certain issues? That's angle number one, where I want you to approach it from. And then angle number two, I don't know if you have visited, or I have not had the pleasure or seen it or heard of a constituency offices, at least for federal lawmakers, that are currently operating, where the lawmaker attends to the public from time to time, has staff who stay there. The office is funded, is running, and they are engaging with the public. They have a plan of action when they have town hall sessions, when they have such meetings, and then they can come and hear from the people what the real problems are.
Yes, a lot of our lawmakers have constituency offices. Unfortunately, I will agree with you here that the constituency offices do not play the role they are expected to play. Now, what are constituency offices and constituency officials who represent our lawmakers do basically is to take requests from people. A particular person is bereaved, he or she needs assistance, a particular person needs medical assistance, a particular person needs school fees, needs money to buy UTMA form or whatever. That is what they do, which is far from what ought to be done. I am yet to hear of any lawmaker who went to speak with his or her representative to ask them of their opinion on what position he or she should take on a burning national issue. They don't do that. These offices are just there to hand over handouts to their supporters. And the way our constituency offices are run by our lawmakers and their appointees or representatives at that level cannot give us the desired results. People must make a point, as you are suggesting. So like your colleague Amechi Anafe said this morning on political platform, we need to change our development strategies. So we also need to change our interface. Our lawmakers need to change their interface, the strategy of their interface with their representatives. So that let it not just be liaising with their representatives because you want to pass money to them, because you want to be popular as someone who is kind-hearted and all of that. You should also get the feedback from them and input from them, to buy in from them on what position you should take on burning national issues.
All right. And so do you think as well, being the first part of my question, that this lack of, call it in some way, transparency on the voting procedures within the National Assembly helps to hamper citizen engagement?
Yes. I will agree with you on that issue. I think we need to rethink and retool the procedure of voting.
Oh, so bad. We lost Barrister Olga there, but we will immediately contact him one more time so that he can finish his thoughts, and let's just do that right away. But the program is still Vision Nigeria, and we are still engaging on the very topical issues that exist at the moment. So just stay with us. Barrister Oga was speaking to the issues, and we will continue with him the moment he rejoins the conversation. Hello, sir. Apologies. I believe that was network. Please continue with your thoughts, sir.
Oh, yes. So I was saying the manner in which we vote, this voice voting, permit me to so address it, actually adversely affects citizens' engagement with their lawmakers, because at the end of the day, you won't know where your representative, where your representative stood on a particular issue. But if they have to be elected voting like we did when the death issue of top 10 came up at the tail end of President Olusegun Obasanjo's administration, people stood out, to say what their position. Lawmakers at the National Assembly stood out to say what their position, their individual positions were. I mean, if we do that, it will help us instead of the procedure where voting is by voice vote. Let the eyes,
eyes have it.
We say aye, those who are against, we say nay.
Yeah.
So you don't really know. At the end of the day, it's the presiding officer who decides what happens.
Exactly.
Depending on his or her disposition.
On the particular issue, and Mr. Oga, you remember instances where, from my perception, the ayes were louder in terms of the number of people, but the nays was ruled as carrying the day. So
yes. That's what I'm saying. At the end of the day, it is the position of the presiding officer that becomes the position of the House, which is not good enough.
Yes. All right. So that. Thank you for.
We should work towards introducing, like you suggested earlier on, electronic voting in our parliament, as leaders of Assembly and National Assembly, both chambers of the National Assembly.
All right. Thank you for addressing that. Now let's go to this. Well, for me, I feel like at some point, and the ICPC has said, look, it was helping to foster a lot of corruption, and that's constituency projects is what I speak about here. Constituency projects, in the sense that it sounds, just from hearing it or understanding what it means, it makes sense, really, right? To say, look, lawmakers, in terms of attracting some projects to their communities or deliverables or outcomes, to say, for example, this is what we did in our time for the people. But we also see that the process has been bastardized in some ways, and I use that word advisedly when I say bastardized, in the sense that lawmakers, when funds that belong to Nigeria has been spent on doing projects, they ascribe and put their names on them and say the project was done by so and so person. Whereas this is federal government funds on one end, and on the other end, we also know, and we have heard from investigators and the information is out there in the media, that the lawmakers somehow find a way to reward these projects to themselves and their cronies in terms of implementation, and so therefore the monies are either sent to firms that they have connections to, and therefore they get kickbacks and all of those. So, addressing that fact to say, does this in any way, is this a way where we can, if we were to get constituency project right, is this a way where we could actually engage the citizens?
No, if you ask me, we should even cancel this constituency project.
Okay.
Yeah, because you cannot, a lawmaker is elected to represent his people, to make laws, and to oversight relevant governmental institutions. But now we find them undertaking water projects, educational projects. These are things that are meant for the executive arm of government. And like you rightly observed, a lot of the contracts for this constituency project are awarded to the lawmakers themselves, to companies which they own. They may not be directors at the Company Affairs Commission, directors of this company on record, but these jobs are done by companies which are owned by them. They influence the award of these jobs to their companies or companies of their cronies, as you rightly observed. So if we must get it right, we should, this is my take now, we should cancel the issue of constituency projects. Now, if a particular lawmaker feels that, the road is needed in his constituency, or water is needed in his or her constituency, such a person should draw the attention of the relevant government agency to that, instead of them getting involved in it. So that's my my take.
All right.
Nothing we can do that will put an end to constituency project related corruption.
Okay.
So the best thing to do to curtail that corruption is to stop the entire issue of constituency project. Let the executive arm of government continue handling all of these. Where there's a need for a project, an erosion challenge in a particular constituency, the representative of the people of that constituency, whether a member of the House of Representatives or a senator, should draw the attention of the Federal Ministry of Environment to the fact that something has to be done to address the issue of erosion in his or her constituency, instead of awarding a contract at the instance of that lawmaker. Lawmakers are not meant to execute projects directly or indirectly. They are meant to make laws, to represent the people, and to oversight on behalf of the people.
All right. Thank you for establishing that for us. And so I'd ask you two questions before we open our phone line so that members of the public can either ask you questions or engage with you on some of the issues you have raised. And I know that it's something you said at the beginning, which I think is correct, to say that whatever views we might give will be given from the vantage point of where we are viewing the issues from. And so the question to you here will be, do you see or do you agree with the Nigerians who have said the National Assembly, as currently today as the Ninth National Assembly, is a rubber stamp of the executive? So that first question before we go to the next. Go ahead, sir.
Well, it depends on the legislative arm of government is not supposed to be at the loggerhead, with the executive arm of government. They are supposed to cooperate. They are not the legislature should not just be there for the beck and call of the executive arm of government, but at the same time, the legislature should not make it a point of duty to always try and agree with the executive arm of government. They should cooperate for the benefit of the people. So I will not agree holistically that the current National Assembly is a rubber stamp to the executive arm of government. No. I will not.
All right.
I will not put a seal on that. These two arms of government, very important arms of government, whether the federal or state levels, they need to cooperate with each other for us to make progress. Okay.
All right. So the second question will therefore be now. The perception is what we have spoken about now, the perception at the national level. Now, we want to talk about what the perception is at the subnational levels, and we speak directly to the state legislators. And to say, if we say that even the National Assembly members, the legislators who reside there in Abuja, are far away from their people, are not as connected as expected to their people, are the state lawmakers any better? Are they connecting any better? Are they actually,
They are not, unfortunately. They are not. They are not.
Go ahead.
They are not. I'll tell you the truth, because a lot of times, like, if you look at what is happening and what's going on in Cross River right now, towards the end of last month, the governor of Cross River moved from one party to the other, and members of the Cross River State House of Assembly are moving in their numbers every day. They tell you they are loyal to the governor, so they are moving. None of them went to consult with the people he or she represents to find out if the people want him or her to change a political party. So I say this to say that it is not better at the state level.
All right. So fantastic.
It is not.
Fantastic. So the point, the question therefore now, before we move ahead, is to say, how can we reverse this trend? How can we reverse this scenario? How can we see that as a nation, our lawmakers and those who they represent begin to engage themselves? And there's
the solution lies with the electorate. If we continue the way we are going, where our votes are influenced by clips of Maggie, by peanuts that are given to us by politicians, by religious sentiments, by ethnic sentiments, and all of that, if we continue that way and we continue putting in people who are outside even the first 311, not just first 11, people who are outside the first 311 are the ones we have always elected because they have money to give to us. If we continue that way, we can never have people who truly represent us. Yeah, because if you collect money from a man and you vote for that man because of what you collected from him, of course, such a man will have the mindset that he has paid you for your vote. So you cannot say anything to him at the end of the day, or in the course of his representation here in court.
All right.
Going back to the drawing board, to the foundation of the issue, is just for the electorate to sit up and vote for people based on competence and ability.
All right. Thank you, Barrister Olga. Stay with us, please. Let's just quickly touch base with our listeners. Let's see what reactions they have. If they have questions for you, which I'm sure you'll be pleased to give explanation for and to help them understand better. So, ladies and gentlemen, the phone lines are now open. 0818-4270-287. We are here to take your calls. 0818-4270-287. I'll take it slower this time. 0818-427-0287. If you don't get me on,
I'm doing an interview on South Journey.
if you don't get me on the first number, you can get me on the second one. 0818-427-0265. 0818-427-0265. Again, I take the number one more time, 0818-427-0265. Barrister Max Olga is here to take your feedback, to take your reactions. If you have questions, he's here to answer those. And therefore, if you also want to make quick contributions, you're welcome to do that within the space of time that we have left on the program. But while we wait for your calls, we'll just go back and join Barrister Olga to begin to share more thoughts as we begin to get set to end our conversation today. And it has been a very interesting one, and I'm sure that a lot of you have also enjoyed what you have heard from Barrister. And so, Mr. Olga, let's go back now to talk about... Are you there, sir?
Yes, I'm with you.
All right. Let's go on to therefore talk about deepening this relationship. Now, okay, apologies, let's hold on. We have one call. Let's quickly take their thoughts. Hello, good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon. Hi, good afternoon. Please state your name and where you're calling from. Please say that again. I didn't quite get that.
My name is Promise. I'm calling from Asukuru.
Oh, Promise from Asukuru, yeah, my neighbor. Go ahead. You make your question or contribution very quickly.
And the moderator, I think sometimes people are biased.
Oh, why do you say that?
The person in question is my brother. I know him very well. He's an APC man. People are not supposed to bring a partisan member or of a particular party on a national issue. You could hear him say that the National Assembly is more of a scam. You know, Nigerians are aware that the current National Assembly is from a scam. Do you understand? So each time you are calling somebody to discuss on national issue, it shouldn't be partisan. It should be a ruling party. It should either come from opposition or an independent member. That is just my take. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Promise. We hear your thoughts. I believe that you are entitled to your opinion, as well as Barrister Olga is entitled to his opinion, and share this. And so we have also given you the platform to speak to the issues. And we'll give Barrister Olga the opportunity to respond to you, but let's take this other call. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, please state your name and where you're calling from.
I'm calling from Obolada. My name is Amos.
Amos, go ahead. We can hear you. Hello. Oh, seems the network, Mr. Amos can't hear us clearly. I guess network challenges, but the phone lines are still open, and you're welcome to call us. Barrister Olga, you know well, as I said already, that every individual is entitled to their opinion, and on this platform, we allow a multiplicity of voices, and we ensure that all sides are represented, all sides are heard, and therefore we can, from our differences, evolve commonalities and evolve shared experience and all of that. But I'd like to put it to you that this caller, Mr. Promise, from Asukuru here with us in Abuja, has said that he has opposed your position on the fact that you say the National Assembly is not a rubber stamp.
That's why from inception, I have told you that whatever we say on these issues is our opinion, our individual opinion. And you can never have a consensus on these issues. That's why I said depending on where one stands, you either see a 6 or a 9. So Mr. Promise is right in his own. In his own way. I am right in my own way. He said when you are inviting people to talk on these issues, there should be people who are neutral and all of that. It shouldn't be people who are partisan. But we have PDP members, we have APC members, and people from other political parties in the National Assembly. So even if I'm a member of the PDP, whatever I say also affects members of the APC who are in the National Assembly. And if I'm in the APC, whatever I say, whether or not the National Assembly is a rubber stamp, it also affects people from the other party. So the argument can never have an end. The bottom line here is that everything we say on this issue is subjective. There cannot be anything that, any reaction or comment on this issue that all of us Nigerians, 200 million of us, will agree on.
Right, and so it was wonderful to hear Mr. Promise's point of view as well, so that we can also engage on the issues. And that's the point. The point of the multiplicity of voices is to show that as our faces are different, so our thoughts and views are different.
That is what makes it a democracy, as a matter of fact.
And thoughts like that, Mr. Promise have expressed are welcome. And so, and I'd also like to help Mr. Promise understand that even it's always very important for us to have all parties on board, whether we disagree with them or we agree with them, or whether they belong to the opposition parties that we do not support, or whether we, so whichever the case it may be, everybody is entitled to that opinion, and everybody is also entitled to express that opinion. And so we would ask you finally, to say, look, has the National Assembly, helped Nigerians in terms of, by their function of representation, by their function of engagement, help Nigerians to deepen the civic space, deepen our freedom of expression, deepen the opportunity to speak up on certain issues as it bothers them. It will seem that the National Assembly is sometimes very quiet on issues that matter to Nigerians.
Yes, again, subjectivity comes in here. A few weeks ago, when the federal government placed a ban on the operations of Twitter in Nigeria, you will agree with me that a good number of members of the National Assembly spoke out. The PDP caucus in the House of Representatives, stormed out of a session of the National Assembly. It was a statement, made in favor of the people. Yeah, because Nigerians have said, look, Nigerians said in the course of all of this, you'll be stifling our right of expression, by your ban on Twitter. And lawmakers, some lawmakers, express views which are in tandem with the position of Nigerians. So if you look at it, you say yes. The National Assembly cannot do things at every point in time to please all of us. But there are actions that the members of the National Assembly have taken individually or collectively, which are for the good of Nigerians and protective of the interests of Nigerians.
All right. And would we be our final word on the program today? We have already spoken about, when we spoke about how to improve the process, we already spoke about improving the leadership recruitment process, improving how we get those who become our lawmakers, how we get them into office. But then, apart from the electoral aspect of it, the other point of the follow-up section. So, for example, and I'll be throwing one or two here to say, take, for example, a constituency, members of that constituency calling on their lawmaker to come home and hold a town hall session, and also for not just to make that call on one hand, but when these lawmakers make those calls out by themselves, that these members of the public make themselves available, in terms of their time to go there and be part of that process and also have their voices heard.
Yes, it's a collective responsibility. Yes, while we insist on our right as constituents of these lawmakers, and we call on these lawmakers to do the needful, we should also do the needful, because it takes two to tango. For us to have good governance, those who have elected must live up to expectations. Those of us who elected them must also live up to expectations. Where anyone goes wrong, all of us should have the courage to condemn the person. Where anyone goes right, all of us should also have the humility to commend the person, not minding whether or not that person was elected under the particular political platform that we support. So we should condemn at every point in time those who are right or commend rather at every point in time those who are right, and condemn at every point in time those who are wrong, not minding our ethnic bias, not minding our party affiliation, and all of that.
All right, thank you very much. I think that will be where we'll leave it because we are already out of time. So I say thank you to you, Barrister Mark Soga, for being part of the program. All right, thank you so much. And I also use the opportunity to say thank you to our callers, particularly Mr. Promise, who made his points known, and we heard you and we hear you. We thank you for being part of the program. We also thank Mr. Amos. I guess because of the network, we're not able to harvest your views on the conversation as well. But of course, Vision Nigeria returns every Wednesday, and we invite the two of you to engage with us on these issues because we love hearing everybody. So we'd love to have you call us again and engage on the issues we have. And beyond the two of you as listeners, every other person who listened and enjoyed the program, remember that we'll be back next week Wednesday at the same time, 1:05 p.m. to 1:55 p.m. to engage on burning and very topical national issues. My name remains Osaitin Yari. You've enjoyed Vision Nigeria this afternoon, and I wish you wonderful enjoyment of the rest of your day. Stay blessed.